Good morning. All right, so we're going to move on to part 3, equations. So first we're going to review everything that you've learned already. So let's take a look at 15x equals 330. So remember, when you have a number sitting right beside a variable, that means multiplication. Well, the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So the opposite of multiplying by 15 is dividing by 15. So first we're going to draw the mirror. And then we're going to draw a fraction bar that shows division. If we divide the left by 15, we have to divide the right by 15. Next, you're going to show me your cancellation. 15 divided by 15 is 1. And then we're going to do 330 divided by 15. Remember, you have to show all of your work out to the side. Okay, so 330 divided by 15 is 22. So x equals 22. Put a box around your answer. Now comes substitution. Substitution is when we rewrite 15x equals 330, but we're going to substitute 22 for x. So we're going to say 15 times 22 equals 330. Now, this is a step that a lot of kiddos don't show their work on. You have to show me the math on this part right here, which means we're going to come over here to the side and we're going to prove that 15 times 22 is 330. So now I can say 330 equals 330, check. So now let's go back, make sure we have all 4 lines. We showed our inverse operation. We have a solution. We substituted and we checked. What number divided by 6 equals 48? What number divided by 6 equals 48? So the opposite of dividing by 6 is multiplying by 6. So over here, I'm going to multiply the left by 6 and the right by 6. If you think about multiplying fractions and cross-canceling, these 6's would both cross-cancel down to 1, so all I have left over here is g. Now I know I can't do this problem in my head, so I'm going to show Mr. Jardine my math. So 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 4 is 28. So G is equal to 288. Next, substitute. Substitute is when you rewrite the original equation, but you're going to substitute your solution for your variable. So is 288 divided by 6 equal to 48? So this is the math that you have to show me out to the side. So I'm going to divide 288 by 6 to prove that I'm correct. So 288 divided by 6 is 48. So the last line will say 48 equals 48, check. Remember, every line or every problem should have 4 lines. So we did show the inverse operation. We boxed our answer, we substituted and showed our work, and we checked our solution. 2 3/10 times what equals 34 5/10? The opposite of multiplying by 2 3/10 is dividing by 2 3/10. Remember, we're trying to get that n all by itself, so we have to get rid of times 2 3/10. Show your cancellation on the left. 2 3/10 divided by 2 3/10 is 1. Now over here, I know if I've got a decimal or a 3-digit number, I'm going to have to show my math. Remember, when you're dividing by a decimal, that decimal, we slide it over once. We're going to slide that decimal over once, so our decimal is now sitting right here. So 23 can't go into 3. 23 goes into 34 once. And 23 times 5 is 115. So n equals 15. Substitute. We're going to rewrite our equation, but we're going to use 15 for n. So is 2 3/10 times 15 equal to 34 5/10? This is the math that you have to show me out to the side. So now I'm going to multiply 2 3/10 times 15. And I got 34 5/10. So 34 5/10 equals 34 5/10. Check. And my equation has 4 lines. I showed all my work. 1/5 times what equals 5/9? So this one's a little bit different. You got to think about what this means. 1/5 times what equals 5/9? Well, we know the opposite of multiplying by 1/5 is dividing by 1/5. So I'm going to show you what I'm thinking in my head out here. I'm thinking on the left side of this equation, if I have to divide 1/5 by 1/5, I know that we do keep, switch, flip. So this is what I'm thinking right here. I know that if I have to divide by 1/5, I'm really going to multiply by 5/1. I have to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to come back over here. Instead of writing divided by 1/5, I'm actually going to write times 5/1, which is dividing by 1/5, right? Because over to the right here, I showed you how we do keep, switch, flip. If I multiply the left by 5, I have to multiply the right by 5. So on the left side, your 5s are going to cancel, and all you have is an x. On the right side, we've got 5 times 5 is 25 ninths. Now I'm going to substitute. So I'm going to rewrite this equation. But instead of saying 1/5 times x, now I'm going to say 1/5 times 25 ninths equals 5 ninths. If I have decimals, fractions, or 3-digit numbers, I have to show my math out to the side. So I'm going to show 1/5 times 25 ninths. I'm going to divide 5 by 5 and divide 25 by 5. 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 times 9 is 9. So now I can go back to my equation and say that 5 ninths is equal to 5 ninths. Check. 0 3/10 times what equals 56 1/10? So first we're going to draw the mirror. The opposite of multiplying by 3/10 is dividing by 3/10. If you divide the left by 3/10, you have to divide the right by 3/10. On the left side of your equation, 3/10 divided by 3/10 is 1. On the right side, I know I'm going to have to show my work. So I'm going to come over here and show 56 1/10 divided by 3/10. I know I have to move that decimal over, so my decimal is going to be sitting right here. 3 goes into 5 once. 3 times 8 is 24. And 3 times 7 is 21. So G equals 187. So now we're going to substitute. We're going to rewrite our equation, but instead of saying 3/10 times G, now I'm going to say 3/10 times 187 equals 56 1/10. So now this is the math that you have to show me out to the side. So I'm going to multiply 187 times 3/10. So now I can say 56 1/10 equals 56 1/10. Check. What number divided by 3 2/10 equals 5? Well, the opposite of dividing by 3 2/10 is multiplying by 3 2/10. Remember, we have a mirror, so whatever I do on the left side, I have to do the same thing on the right. So on the left side, everything is going to cancel. If I have a 3-digit number, a decimal, or a fraction, I have to show my work out to the side. So 3 2/10 times 5. S equals 16. Substitution. We're going to rewrite this equation, but we're going to substitute 16 for S. Is 16 divided by 3 2/10 equal to 5? You have to show me the math out to the side to check your solution. So is 16 divided by 3 2/10 equal to 5? Well, I've got to slide my decimal over, which means over here, I have to add a decimal and a 0 and slide it over. So my decimal is going to be sitting here. So I have to have 1, 2, 3 digits in my answer. So 32 cannot go into 1. 32 cannot go into 16. I know my solution is supposed to be 5, so that's the number that I'm going to try. So 5 times 2 is 10, carry a 1. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16. So now I can say 5 equals 5, check. And I showed my inverse operation, I boxed my answer, I substituted and showed my work, and I checked my solution. 2/3 times what equals 7/10? 2/3 times what equals 7/10? So this is another one where I know that the opposite of multiplying by 2/3 is dividing by 2/3. So in my head, I'm thinking if I have to divide 2/3 by 2/3, I'm really going to multiply 2/3 by 3/2. So this is what I have to do to solve my equation. So I'm going to erase divided by 2/3. And instead of writing that, I'm going to multiply both sides by 3/2 because when we divide a fraction by a fraction, we multiply by the reciprocal. So right now I'm focusing over here on the left side of my equation. My 3's would cancel down to 1, and my 2's would cancel down to 1. So all I have over here is x. On the right side, I cannot cross cancel anything, so I'm going to multiply straight across. So 7 times 3 is 21, and 10 times 2 is 20. Now remember, you're allowed to leave it improper while you're solving your equation. All right, next is substitution. So I'm going to rewrite 2/3 times x equals 7/10, but I'm going to substitute my solution for x. So 2/3 times 21/20 equals 7/10. So you have to show me this math out to the side. So I'm going to come over here and multiply 2/3 times 21/20. Divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 2, divide by 2, and 1 times 7 is 7, and 1 times 10 is 10. So 7/10 equals 7/10. Check. Four times what equals 5/8? 4 times what equals 5/8? So I'm going to divide by 4, and I'm going to divide by 4. But when we divide by a fraction, we multiply by the reciprocal. So instead of writing divided by 4, I'm going to write times 1/4 because I'm multiplying by the reciprocal. On the left side, 4 divided by 4 is 1. On the right side, I cannot cross cancel, so 1 times 5 and 8 times 4. So my solution is 5 over 32. Now we're going to substitute. I'm going to rewrite this equation. So 4 times 5 over 32 equals 5/8. So this is the problem that you have to show me out to the side. So I'm going to put a 1 under the whole number. 5, whoops, not equals, sorry, times 5 over 32, divide 4 by 4, divide 32 by 4. So now if I multiply my numerators, 1 times 5 and 1 times 8, 5/8 equals 5/8, check. Alrighty, that's it.